My name is Isabella, and at 28 years old, I never imagined I would be standing in a tech mogul's penthouse while being called street garbage. As my boyfriend Ryan squeezed my hand under the gleaming marble countertop, his father Marcus stared at me with cold, calculating eyes. 12 wealthy guests froze in shock as he sneered street garbage in thrift store clothes, loud enough for everyone to hear. My blood turned to ice, but something unexpected happened inside me. Before I tell you my reaction, let me know where you're watching from. And don't forget to like and subscribe to see the next part of the story of how I stood up for my dignity. I met Ryan 8 months before that devastating evening. I was working at Digital Dreams, a small tech startup in Silicon Valley, managing their social media presence for barely above minimum wage. The pay was terrible, but the experience was invaluable as I worked toward my dream of launching my own digital marketing agency. Every Tuesday at precisely 2 p.m., Ryan would walk into our cramped office space to meet with our CEO about potential partnership. Unlike the other venture capitalists who swept through our doors with their expensive suits and dismissive attitudes, Ryan always acknowledged everyone in the room. He remembered names, asked thoughtful questions about our projects, and genuinely seemed interested in what we were building. He had warm brown eyes that lit up when he smiled, and he never made anyone feel small or insignificant. "You must really believe in this company," I said one afternoon after he had been visiting for about 6 weeks. He looked up from the presentation he was reviewing and grinned. "Actually, I believe in the people behind it. Vision is important, but execution is everything." The way he said it, holding my gaze a moment longer than necessary, made my heart skip a beat. I learned his name was Ryan Sterling when I overheard him introducing himself to a new intern. He started staying later after meetings, sometimes asking me about my marketing strategies during coffee breaks. Where did I go to school? What brought me to Silicon Valley? What were my long-term career goals? I told him I had grown up in a working-class family in Detroit, the daughter of a factory worker and a school secretary. After graduating from State University with student loans that still kept me awake at night, I moved west with dreams of building something meaningful in the digital space. I never mentioned how I sometimes survived on ramen noodles for weeks to afford my tiny studio apartment, or how I walked 40 minutes to work each day because I could not afford both rent and a car payment. That kind of determination is rare, he said, genuine admiration in his voice. Most people I know have never had to fight for anything, including myself, if I'm being honest. That was my first hint that Ryan came from serious money, though he never flaunted it. He dressed well, but not ostentatiously. His watch was expensive, but understated. He drove a Tesla, but so did half of Silicon Valley. It was only after 2 months of our workplace conversations that he finally asked me to dinner. Our first date was at a trendy fusion restaurant in Palo Alto. Nothing too flashy, but definitely nicer than anywhere I would choose on my own budget. The conversation flowed naturally. Ryan was brilliant but humble, passionate about technology's potential to solve real problems rather than just generate profits. "My family runs Sterling Ventures," he explained when I asked about his background. "I'm in the emerging tech division, but honestly, I'd rather build something myself someday. Something that actually makes the world better." I had vaguely heard of Sterling Ventures, but I nodded politely. It was only later that night, after an incredible evening where we talked until the restaurant closed, that I looked up his family name. My stomach dropped when I realized Ryan was the son of Marcus Sterling, the billionaire tech investor whose face regularly appeared on magazine covers and business news programs. I almost canceled our second date, convinced we lived in completely different universes, but Ryan called the next morning, and his voice warm and sincere, telling me how much he had enjoyed our time together. Against my better judgment, I agreed to see him again. Over the next 7 months, our relationship deepened in ways I had never experienced. Ryan never made me feel lesser because of my background. He was just as happy eating at food trucks as he was taking me to Michelin-starred restaurants. He showed genuine excitement about my marketing ideas, even offering to introduce me to potential clients in his network. "You have incredible instincts, Isabella," he would say, reviewing my campaign proposals. "Any company would be lucky to work with you. When he first told me he loved me, we were watching the sunset from a hiking trail in the Santa Cruz Mountains. No grand gestures or expensive gifts, just a simple, heartfelt declaration as golden light painted the valley below us. I realized then that I loved him too, not because of his family name or wealth, but because of his kindness, his vision for a better world, and the way he made me feel like I could achieve anything. Of course, there were moments that highlighted our different backgrounds, like when he casually mentioned skiing in Switzerland over winter break, or when he didn't understand why I was so excited about a $50 bonus at work. But Ryan always listened and learned. He never made me feel ashamed of where I came from or who I was. For 7 beautiful months, we existed in our own bubble, largely separate from his family and the world of extreme wealth he came from. We built our relationship on shared dreams and genuine connection. I began to believe that maybe, just maybe, our different worlds wouldn't matter in the end. I had no idea how wrong I was or how brutally reality would shatter that illusion on the night I finally met his family. The invitation came on a rainy Wednesday evening in November. Ryan and I were cuddled on my secondhand couch in my tiny studio apartment, sharing takeout Thai food and working on our laptops, when he suddenly closed his computer. My dad's hosting a networking event next month, he said, his fingers nervously drumming on the coffee table. It's at the Penthouse. Tech leaders, investors, some family friends. I'd really like you to come with me. My chopsticks froze halfway to my mouth. Your family's penthouse? You mean meet your entire circle? Ryan nodded, his expression a mix of hopefulness and something else. Anxiety, perhaps. It's important to me, Isabella. We've been together for 7 months, and you're a huge part of my life. I want them to meet you. How many people will be there? I asked, already feeling my stomach tighten with apprehension. About 15 guests, mostly investors and entrepreneurs, a few family friends. He squeezed my hand. I know it sounds intimidating, but they'll love you. Isabella, how could they not? His confidence was touching, but did little to calm my nerves. For the next 3 weeks, I obsessed over every detail. What should I wear? How should I act? What if I said something embarrassing or revealed my lack of familiarity with their world? My best friend, Carmen, listened patiently to my concerns over coffee the following Saturday. You need an outfit that makes you feel powerful, she declared. Something that screams, I belong here. We spent the entire afternoon hunting through stores, but everything appropriate for such an event was far beyond my budget. $400 for a dress I'd wear once seemed insane when that represented my entire monthly food budget. Seeing my distress, Carmen offered a solution. I still have that black cocktail dress from my sister's engagement party last year. It would look amazing on you with a few small alterations. I can't borrow your dress, I protested weakly, though relief was already washing over me. Of course you can, and my silver jewelry too. You'll look stunning. The week before the event, I practiced walking in borrowed heels around my apartment. I watched YouTube videos on networking etiquette, memorizing conversation starters and proper handshake techniques. I researched Sterling Ventures and the tech industry extensively so I could hold intelligent conversations about market trends and emerging technologies. The night before the event, my older sister Maya called. She had always been my anchor, the one who helped me believe in myself when doubt crept in. Just remember who you are, she said firmly. You're brilliant, hardworking, and worthy of respect, regardless of how much money anyone has. Don't let anyone make you feel small. I held on to her words as I prepared the next evening, taking extra care with my hair and makeup. The borrowed dress fit perfectly, the black material sleek and sophisticated. Carmen's silver accessories added just the right touch of elegance. Looking in the mirror, I barely recognized myself. When Ryan arrived to pick me up, his expression made all the anxiety worthwhile. You look absolutely incredible, he whispered, kissing me softly. His usual car had been replaced with a sleek, black sports car. As we settled into the leather seats, Ryan sensed my nervousness. "They're just people, Isabella," he said, taking my hand. "Wealthy people, yes, but still just people with their own problems and insecurities. Just be your amazing self." The drive took us through increasingly exclusive neighborhoods until we arrived at Sterling Tower, a gleaming skyscraper in downtown San Francisco. As we rode the private elevator to the penthouse, my mouth went dry. When the doors opened, I was struck speechless. The penthouse was a testament to modern luxury and impeccable taste. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered breathtaking views of the city skyline and San Francisco Bay. Contemporary art adorned the walls, and sleek furniture created intimate conversation areas throughout the spacious living area. The air buzzed with the energy of successful, powerful people. "You grew up here?" I whispered, unable to hide my awe. Ryan nodded, a slightly embarrassed smile on his face. "Home sweet home. Ready?" As we stepped into the crowd, I took a deep breath and reminded myself of my sister's words. I was worthy of respect. I belonged here, but as I surveyed the room full of tech moguls and venture capitalists, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was walking into dangerous territory. The Sterling Penthouse party was unlike anything I had ever experienced. Crystal glasses filled with premium champagne floated through the room on silver trays carried by impeccably dressed servers. The conversation hummed with talk of IPOs, unicorn startups, and acquisition deals worth hundreds of millions. I accepted a glass gratefully, needing something to calm my nerves and occupy my hands. "Ryan, darling," a tall, elegant woman in her 50s, approached us, her platinum blonde hair styled in a perfect bob. She air-kissed both his cheeks before turning her sharp blue eyes to me. "And you must be Isabella, mother. This is Isabella Rodriguez," Ryan said, his hand reassuring on my lower back. "Isabella, my mother, Patricia Sterling." I extended my hand with what I hoped was a confident smile. "It's wonderful to meet you, Mrs. Sterling. Thank you for including me in this incredible event." Her handshake was brief and calculating. "Of course. Ryan has mentioned you occasionally." The slight emphasis on occasionally made it clear I had been a topic of minimal discussion. What an interesting choice of outfit. Very practical. Before I could respond to what was clearly a subtle critique, a younger woman bounced up to us, her warm smile a stark contrast to her mother's cool reception. "Finally, I've been dying to meet the woman who got my brother to delete his dating apps." She hugged me without hesitation. "I'm Sophia, the funner Sterling sibling." Ryan laughed. "My sister lacks our mother's gift for diplomatic conversation." Sophia linked her arm through mine. "Come on, let me introduce you to people who actually have personalities. Most of them, anyway." As we moved through the crowd, I became acutely aware of the appraising glances and whispered conversations that seemed to follow me. Sophia introduced me to investors, entrepreneurs, and tech executives, most of whom were polite but clearly measuring me against some invisible standard. The questions began innocuously enough. "And what do you do, Isabella?" asked the distinguished older man, wearing a watch that probably cost more than my annual salary. "I work in digital marketing for a tech startup while building my own client base," I answered honestly. "How entrepreneurial," he replied, his smile not reaching his eyes. "A freelancer. How did you and Ryan meet?" Each time I explained our workplace connection, I watched the subtle shifts in expression, raised eyebrows, exchanged glances, thin smiles that didn't quite hide their judgment. The unspoken assessment was palpable. "Oh, I just love those bootstrap stories," gushed one woman, as if I were a character from an inspirational movie rather than a person standing right in front of her. "Ryan always did have a soft spot for underdogs," murmured another, just loudly enough for me to hear. Sophia squeezed my arm supportively. "Ignore them. They're just threatened because you have actual substance instead of just a trust fund." We eventually made our way to Ryan's grandparents, the patriarch and matriarch of the Sterling Empire. I had expected more of the same thinly veiled condescension, but Thomas and Margaret Sterling surprised me with their genuine warmth. "So you're the young lady who has put such a real smile on our grandson's face," Thomas said, clasping my hand between both of his. Wonderful to meet you, my dear. Ryan tells us you're building your own marketing business, Margaret added. I'd love to hear about your approach to brand building sometime. Their kindness was a momentary relief from the scrutiny, but as we moved away, Sophia leaned in to whisper, Grandpa and Grandma are the real deal. They built the company from nothing after immigrating here with basically no money. The rest of us just got lucky with our genetics. As the evening progressed, I managed a few genuinely pleasant conversations. A young CEO who was passionate about sustainable technology, an older investor who shared stories of her early struggles in the male-dominated venture capital world, a software engineer who was genuinely interested in my thoughts on social media marketing trends. But for every friendly interaction, there were 3 or 4 that left me feeling examined and found wanting. Comments about my accent, which apparently sounded so authentic, questions that probed at my family background as if searching for something scandalous, observations about my education that suggested surprise I could hold intelligent conversations. Through it all, Ryan remained attentive, his hand rarely leaving mine, steering me away when conversations became too pointed. But even he couldn't shield me from the moment I had been dreading most. There's my father, Ryan said quietly, nodding toward a distinguished-looking man commanding attention across the room. Marcus Sterling was tall and imposing, with steel-gray hair and Ryan's brown eyes, though his held none of his son's warmth. He was holding court with several prominent venture capitalists, discussing market trends with the confidence of someone accustomed to being the smartest person in the room. Should we go say hello? I asked, though every instinct told me to avoid this man. Ryan hesitated. We should. Just, he can be intense. Don't take anything personally. We approached Marcus as he finished explaining his predictions for the artificial intelligence market. He turned to us, his gaze sweeping over me in a quick but thorough assessment before focusing on his son.
Ryan,
His voice carried authority and barely concealed impatience. Father, I'd like you meet Isabella Rodriguez. Isabella, my father, Marcus Sterling. I extended my hand with my most professional smile. It's an honor to meet you, Mr. Sterling. Thank you for hosting such an insightful event. He took my hand briefly, his grip firm to the point of discomfort. Indeed, that was all. No pleasantries, no welcome, just a single word that somehow managed to convey both dismissal and disapproval. The conversation around us had quieted, other guests clearly sensing the tension. A server appeared announcing that dinner would be served, saving us from the awkward silence that followed. As Ryan guided me toward the dining area, I caught Marcus watching us, his expression unreadable but unmistakably cold. That went better than I expected, Ryan whispered, but the strain in his voice betrayed his words. The warning bells in my mind grew louder as we entered the elegant dining space. Something told me the worst was yet to come. The dining area was a masterpiece of modern elegance. A massive glass table reflected the city lights twinkling far below through floor-to-ceiling windows. Each place setting featured fine china and crystal glasses that caught the light from contemporary chandeliers. Fresh orchid arrangements and flickering candles created an atmosphere of sophisticated intimacy, despite the room's grand scale. A server directed each guest to their assigned seat. My heart sank when I realized I had been placed directly across from Marcus Sterling, with Ryan to my right. Sophia caught my eye from further down the table and gave me an encouraging thumbs up when no one was looking. Quite the production, isn't it? Ryan whispered as he held my chair. Just remember, there are only 5 courses and 3 different wines. When I looked at him in panic, he laughed quietly. Kidding. It's just dinner with extremely expensive ingredients. As the first course was served an artfully presented seafood appetizer I had never seen before, I carefully watched others to ensure I used the correct utensil. The conversation around the table flowed through topics that seemed designed to exclude outsiders: stock options, private schools, vacation homes in countries I had only seen in movies. I remained mostly silent, concentrating on not making any social mistakes while taking small sips of wine to calm my nerves. Ryan occasionally tried to include me, explaining inside references or asking for my opinion on tech trends, but each attempt only highlighted my outsider status. So Miss Rodriguez, Marcus's voice suddenly cut through the conversation, addressing me directly for the first time since our introduction. The table quieted, attention shifting to our exchange. I set down my fork carefully. Yes, sir. Ryan tells me you work at a startup. His tone suggested he found this information dubious. Yes, sir. Digital Dreams. I handle their marketing and social media strategy. And what exactly did you study? The question carried an undertone that suggested he doubted my qualifications were adequate. Communications and business with a focus on digital marketing. I graduated summa cum laude from Michigan State. I kept my voice steady and professional. He raised an eyebrow as if surprised. State school. And where did you say you were from originally? The question was a loaded one, and from Marcus's expression, he knew it. Ryan tensed beside me. Detroit, I answered evenly. Born and raised. Never heard of your neighborhood, I'm sure. What does your father do? The question was a landmine designed to expose my working class background. My father works at Ford, assembly line supervisor. I answered with dignity. My mother is a secretary at an elementary school. How blue collar, he said with a thin smile. From working class to working class, through the generations. Fascinating. Ryan set down his wine glass with more force than necessary. Isabella's parents made incredible sacrifices to give their daughters opportunities. They should be admired, not condescended to. The second course arrived, temporarily halting the interrogation. Ryan squeezed my hand under the table, his silent support the only thing keeping me from excusing myself to the bathroom and never returning. As dinner progressed through multiple courses of increasingly elaborate food, Marcus continued to direct pointed questions my way between conversations with other guests. Did you attend university immediately after high school, or did you work first? That's an interesting accent. Is that common in your area? Have you traveled much? No, a pity. Exposure to different cultures is so broadening for those with limited background. Each question was phrased to sound curious, while carrying a clear message, you don't belong here. By the time the main course arrived, a perfectly prepared piece of fish, I couldn't identify, my nerves were frayed. I reached for my water glass, misjudging the distance in my anxiety, and accidentally knocked it slightly. A few drops splashed onto the pristine white tablecloth. I'm so sorry, I gasped, mortified, as a server rushed over with a clean napkin. No harm done, Ryan assured me quickly. But Marcus's cold chuckle drew everyone's attention. Careful with that crystal, he said loudly enough for the entire table to hear. That glass costs more than you probably make in a month. An uncomfortable silence fell over the table. Ryan's face flushed with anger. Father, that's completely inappropriate. Marcus leaned back in his chair, swirling his wine with practiced indifference. I'm merely stating economic facts, son. No need to be oversensitive. His gaze shifted back to me, all pretense of civility now abandoned. Tell me, Miss Rodriguez, is that dress from this season's collection? I don't recall seeing anything similar in the boutiques Patricia frequents. The question was so blatantly designed to embarrass that several guests looked away in discomfort. I felt my cheeks burning, but kept my expression neutral. It belongs to a friend. She was kind enough to lend it to me for tonight. Marcus nodded, his eyes glittering with malice. Borrowed finery. I thought as much. Ryan started to rise from his seat, his anger barely contained. Father, I won't sit here while you insult my girlfriend. Marcus waved a dismissive hand. Sit down, Ryan. If your friend is going to be part of this world, she needs to develop thicker skin. Something inside me snapped. The condescension, the barely veiled insults, the public humiliation designed to put me in my place. I had endured enough. My skin is plenty thick, Mr. Sterling, I replied quietly, my voice carrying clearly in the now silent room. It had to be, growing up the way I did. Something in my calm response seemed to infuriate him. He set down his glass and leaned forward, his voice dropping to a dangerous register that nonetheless carried throughout the room. Let me be clear, Miss Rodriguez. My son may be temporarily amused by this charity project, but make no mistake, you are street garbage in thrift store clothes, and you will never belong in our family or our world. 12 pairs of eyes fixed on me. Patricia Sterling stared at her plate in embarrassment. Sophia's mouth hung open in shock. Ryan was halfway out of his chair, rage contorting his features. My blood turned to ice, but then something unexpected happened inside me. A lifetime of being underestimated, of working twice as hard for half the recognition, of proving people wrong rose up like a tidal wave. A strange calm washed over me as I slowly rose from my seat, smoothing the borrowed black fabric of my dress. The room remained frozen in shocked silence, all eyes on me. Marcus's expression was one of smug satisfaction, clearly expecting me to flee the room in tears. Instead, I picked up my water glass and took a small, deliberate sip before setting it down carefully. Street garbage, I repeated the words slowly, my voice steady and clear in the silent room. What an interesting choice of words, Mr. Sterling. I looked around the table, making brief eye contact with several guests. I want to thank you, actually. I've been struggling with an ethical dilemma for months, and you just made my decision crystal clear. Marcus's smug expression faltered slightly. What are you babbling about?
Ryan believes I only work at Digital Dreams. That's partially true. I do handle their marketing, but for the past 3 years, I've also been working as an investigative tech journalist for TechWatch Weekly. A ripple of whispers circled the table. Marcus's face remained impassive, but I noticed his knuckles whitening around his fork.
8 months ago, before I met your son, I was part of a team investigating insider trading and market manipulation in the venture capital industry. During that investigation, a name kept appearing in our documents. Your name, Mr. Sterling.
Now the color drained from Marcus's face. Beside me, Ryan had gone completely still. Our investigation uncovered evidence suggesting Sterling Ventures has been systematically manipulating startup valuations through coordinated investment rounds. We found documentation of inflated projections, phantom partnerships, and what appears to be a sophisticated network of shell companies designed to create artificial market demand.
The silence in the room had transformed from shocked to stunned. Sophia's eyes were wide, darting between her father and me. Margaret Sterling pressed a hand to her chest, while Thomas's expression had darkened considerably. When I realized who Ryan was, I faced an ethical crisis. I immediately disclosed our relationship to my editor and removed myself from the investigation. I even convinced the publication to delay the story while we sought additional corroborating evidence. I leaned forward slightly, my eyes locked with Marcus's. I did that out of love for Ryan. I didn't want his family's potential crimes to damage what we had built together. But I never told him about the investigation because I didn't want to put him in an impossible position. Ryan turned to me, his expression a complex mixture of shock, confusion, and something else I couldn't quite identify. Isabella, is this true? I nodded briefly, touching his hand. I'm sorry I kept this from you. I was trying to protect both you and the integrity of the investigation. Turning back to Marcus, whose face had now flushed an alarming red, I continued. The publication agreed to hold the story, not because we lacked evidence, but because I requested more time to ensure absolute accuracy. I wanted to be certain before potentially destroying my boyfriend's family business. I straightened my shoulders. But you've just made something very clear to me, Mr. Sterling. You see, I've been carrying around emails between you and other venture capitalists discussing market manipulation strategies, bank records showing suspicious fund transfers between Sterling Ventures and shell companies, audio recordings of phone calls where you explicitly discussed creating artificial bidding wars for startups. The wine glass shattered somewhere down the table. Marcus had pushed back his chair and was half standing. This is preposterous. You're making wild accusations with no basis. I'll sue you and your tabloid for defamation. I smiled calmly. You're welcome to try. TechWatch's lawyers have vetted every document, every recording, every financial record. The story has been ready to run for 4 months. I was the one who asked them to wait. Why would they listen to a startup nobody? He spat. because the evidence I personally gathered was crucial to the entire investigation, and because award-winning journalists tend to have influence in their newsrooms. This was stretching the truth slightly. I hadn't won any major awards yet, but my mentor at the publication had, and she had indeed supported my request to delay publication. You see, Mr. Sterling, I grew up with nothing, as you so eloquently pointed out. That taught me to work harder than everyone else, to pursue education however I could get it. I studied journalism before switching to business, but I never stopped investigating stories that matter. The startup job gave me perfect cover to continue my real work. I reached for my phone in my small clutch purse. So I'd like to thank you for removing any doubt about what I should do next. I typed a quick message while continuing to speak. That was a text to my editor informing her that I'm formally removing my objection to publication. TechWatch Weekly will run our investigation in tomorrow's edition, with full documentation posted online at midnight tonight. The room erupted in chaos. Marcus lunged forward, his face contorted with rage. You little nothing, do you have any idea who you're dealing with? I will destroy you. Ryan stood and stepped between us. That's enough, father. You won't speak to her that way. You fool, Marcus hissed at his son. Can't you see what she's done? She used you to get close to this family. I shook my head. No, Mr. Sterling. I fell in love with your son despite his connection to you, not because of it. When I realized who he was, I immediately disclosed the conflict and stepped away from the story. Patricia finally spoke, her voice tight with alarm. Surely you can't believe this person over your own father. Ryan looked at me, his expression unreadable. Did you really not know who I was when we met? I had no idea, I said softly. You were just the kind investor who always treated everyone at our office with respect. He studied my face for a long moment, then turned to his father. I've seen questionable practices in our portfolio companies, father. I've asked questions about due diligence processes and been told to focus on my own investments. I believe her. Marcus's face turned purple. You ungrateful boy. Everything I've built, everything you stand to inherit, and you choose this nobody over your own family. Her name is Isabella, Ryan said firmly. And yes, I do. Several guests had begun making discreet exits, murmuring awkward apologies. Sophia had moved to stand near us, her expression a mixture of shock and what appeared to be grudging admiration. Well, she said, breaking some of the tension, this is definitely the most memorable networking event we've ever had. Thomas Sterling, who had remained silent until now, slowly rose from his seat at the head of the table. Marcus, my office, now, as Marcus stormed out with his father following, Patricia trailing behind them, I turned to Ryan. I should go. I'll drive you, he said immediately. I shook my head. You need to be with your family right now. This is going to be a difficult night for all of you, and I'm the last person who should be here. Isabella, please, we need to talk about this. We will, I promised, but not tonight. Call me tomorrow if you still want to. As I gathered my things, Margaret Sterling approached. To my surprise, she took my hands in hers. My dear, while I can't say I'm pleased about tomorrow's revelations, I must admit you showed remarkable courage tonight. No one has stood up to Marcus like that in years. I swallowed hard. I'm sorry this celebration was ruined. She smiled sadly. 60 years of marriage teaches you that truth, however painful, is always preferable to comfortable lies. I left the penthouse with my head held high, declining Ryan's repeated offers to accompany me. As the elevator descended toward the lobby, I watched the city lights blur through the glass walls, wondering if I had just destroyed the first real love I had ever known. My phone buzzed with a message from my editor. Got your text, running the story at midnight. Are you okay? I typed back, yes, it was the right decision. But as the taxi carried me through the night toward my tiny studio apartment, tears finally began to fall. Not because of Marcus's cruelty or the public humiliation, but because in standing up for the truth, I might have lost the man I loved. The following morning, TechWatch Weekly's headline read, Sterling Ventures Insider Trading Scandal Exposed. My byline appeared alongside two senior reporters. The story detailed years of systematic market manipulation, fabricated partnerships, and coordinated efforts to artificially inflate startup valuations. It included damning emails, financial records, and excerpts from recorded phone conversations. Several other venture capital firms were implicated in the scheme. I hadn't slept. After returning to my apartment, I had spent hours on the phone with my editor and a publication's lawyers, going over every detail one final time before publication. When the story went live at midnight, I watched my phone, half expecting it to ring with Ryan's name on the screen. It never did. By 8 in the morning, the story had been picked up by major tech publications and financial news networks. By noon, Sterling Ventures stock had plummeted 30%. By evening, the SEC and Department of Justice had announced preliminary investigations. My phone rang constantly, but never with the call I was waiting for. Colleagues congratulated me on the breakthrough investigation. My editor offered me a senior reporter position. Other publications reached out with job opportunities. Through it all, I felt hollow inside. You did the right thing, my sister Maya assured me when I finally answered her call. That man was a monster. You stood up not just for yourself, but for every honest entrepreneur he cheated. Then why does it feel so awful? I asked, staring out my apartment window at the busy street below. Because you love Ryan, she said simply, and because doing the right thing often comes at a personal cost. 4 days after the story broke, with still no word from Ryan, I returned to work at Digital Dreams. My manager had seen the news and greeted me with a mixture of awe and concern. Are you sure you want to be here? She asked. There have been reporters asking questions about you. I need normalcy right now, I replied, settling at my desk, and I don't abandon my commitments. The morning passed quietly, with coworkers giving me space, while occasionally offering supportive smiles. Around 11, the front door opened, and Marcus Sterling himself walked in. The small office went silent. He looked nothing like the commanding figure from the Penthouse party. His face was haggard, his normally immaculate appearance slightly disheveled. The past 4 days had clearly taken their toll. Mr. Sterling, I said, my voice steadier than I felt. What can I do for you? A word, he replied tersely. In private. My manager stepped forward, protectively. Sir, if you're here to intimidate my employee, it's okay, I assured her. I'll take my break now. I led Marcus to a small conference room at the back of the office. We sat across from each other, the tension palpable between us. Have you come to threaten me in person? I asked quietly. He stared at me for a long moment. I underestimated you. Most people do. It's both my burden and my advantage. My lawyers inform me that your reporting is factually accurate, if selectively presented, he said stiffly. They believe a lawsuit would only draw more attention to the story and likely fail. Is that an admission of guilt? His jaw tightened. It's an acknowledgement of your thoroughness. The board has placed me on administrative leave pending the investigations. I leaned forward slightly. Did you really come here to compliment my journalism, Mr. Sterling? I came to ask what it would take to make this go away, he said bluntly. Money, a position at a major publication. Name your price. I stared at him in disbelief. You still don't understand. This was never about money or career advancement. It was about accountability, about justice. Justice? He scoffed. Do you have any idea what your version of justice will cost? Hundreds of jobs are at risk. The firm my father built could collapse. That's not on me, I replied firmly. That's on you and every partner who chose profits over ethics, who decided that securities laws were suggestions rather than requirements. He leaned back, studying me with new eyes. You truly believe you're righteous in this, don't you? I believe in holding the powerful accountable, especially when they abuse that power to cheat honest people. Marcus stood abruptly. My son hasn't been home in 4 days. His mother is beside herself. Whatever game you're playing with him. I love Ryan, I interrupted. This was never a game, and I haven't heard from him since the dinner. Something flickered across Marcus's face. For a moment, he looked almost human. He always was too idealistic for this business, like my father. Without another word, he walked out, leaving me alone with my thoughts and the weight of what I had set in motion. That evening, as I was heating up leftover soup in my tiny kitchen, there was a knock at my door. When I opened it, Ryan stood there, unshaven and exhausted looking, holding a small bouquet of wild flowers. Hi, he said simply. Hi, I whispered back, my heart racing. Can I come in? He nodded, stepping past me into the apartment. We stood awkwardly for a moment before both speaking at once. I should have told you. I should have called. A ghost of a smile crossed his face. Ladies first. I took a deep breath. I should have told you about the investigation. I convinced myself I was protecting you from an impossible choice. But really, I was afraid of losing you. And I should have called sooner, he replied. I needed time to process everything, to investigate the evidence myself, to confront my father about what he'd done. And what did you find? He nodded grimly. The evidence is irrefutable. He did everything your article claimed, and more. I accessed internal files that even your investigation hadn't uncovered. My whole life, I looked up to him. I knew he was ruthless in business, but I thought he operated within legal boundaries. We both sat on my second-hand couch, maintaining careful distance between us. Where have you been the past 4 days? I asked gently. A hotel, mostly, meeting with lawyers, talking with my grandfather about the future of the company. He looked at me directly and thinking about us. My heart constricted. What conclusion did you reach? That I fell in love with a woman who is braver and more principled than I gave her credit for. That I'm angry you didn't trust me with the truth, but I understand why. And that I'm sorry I didn't stand up to my father sooner, that you had to endure his cruelty before I saw him clearly. I'm so sorry, Ryan, I said, tears threatening. I know, and I'm sorry I didn't call immediately after the story broke, that you had to wonder where we stood. He reached for my hand. My family is in chaos right now. My mother isn't speaking to me. Sophia is the only one who seems to think I did the right thing by supporting you.
What happens now with the company? My grandfather is stepping back in temporarily as CEO. We're cooperating fully with all investigations and preparing to make restitution. It'll be a long road back to respectability if we can manage it at all.
And what about us? I asked the question I'd been afraid to voice. Ryan was quiet for a moment. I don't know, Isabella. I love you. That hasn't changed. But there's a lot of pain and broken trust that we need to work through. I understand, I said, fighting back tears. No, you don't, he said gently, moving closer and taking both my hands. I'm not ending things. I'm saying we need to rebuild slowly with complete honesty between us, if you're willing to try. As I looked into his eyes, I saw not the privileged son of wealth I'd feared he might become, but the man I'd fallen in love with, the one who valued integrity over family loyalty when that loyalty demanded moral compromise. I'm willing, I whispered, more than willing. That night, we talked until dawn, laying bare our fears, our hopes, and our wounds. It was the first step on what would be a long journey back to each other, set against the backdrop of a family empire crumbling under the weight of its own corruption. 6 months passed in a whirlwind of legal proceedings and media attention. The Sterling Ventures scandal became one of the biggest financial fraud cases of the year. My initial investigation sparked inquiries by multiple federal agencies, resulting in fines exceeding $200 million. Marcus Sterling was indicted on charges including securities fraud, wire fraud, and money laundering.